there had been so many things that happened up until that point that
Mm-hmm.
I said, I have to either figure out how to survive here or I have to start making an exit strategy.
Right.
And I vacillated between, I was there for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I vacillated between, am I making an exit strategy and am I trying to conform myself to stay here quite a bit? I went back and forth
Yeah.
for a long time, and I would try to soothe myself by saying, I make good money here and I have flexibility here. And within, 2 years, I had earned enough credibility in my work product that I was doing things like I leave work every day at 4 o'clock just so I can go to the gym and have a nice evening and nobody would question it. I
Yeah.
would block my calendar off for like 2 weeks at a time and take a vacation. Nobody questioned it. I had enough flexibility that I thought I could survive the racism and sexism,
Yeah.
and I didn't really realize how much it was piling on me until I left.
Well, you never do. It's like, and I've been in some really tense, stressful situations. Hell, last year I lost a very toxic client, and you never realize how bad it is until you get on the other side of it.
I was getting all kinds of sexualized, racialized comments and commentary. Um, Somebody inappropriately grabbed me at a company event before.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just didn't explain all these things to him. I didn't tell him this is what I'm really struggling with.
Right.
And honestly, I didn't tell anybody because I didn't have the vocabulary to really explain it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In that position, well, I want to ask like how you were feeling working at that place because we touch on there's um certain things that continue to come up. Like, we continue to see when I'm talking to Black women about this, like the physical symptoms, the emotional symptoms, those sorts of things. Were you experiencing any of that?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was, because I couldn't control certain things that were happening at work, I became really, really controlling of my weight and diet, bordering
Mm-hmm.
along ED.
Mm.
I was only eating 900 calories a day. I was exercising twice a day. I was not letting myself eat anything after 7 o'clock. And I was
Uh-oh.
very, very thin. Like
Mm-hmm.
the most compliments I've ever received on my weight because nobody realized that I was truly stressed out.
Right, right.
And on the other end, I was also making really bad decisions that had to do with my depression over going to work. I mean, there were days in a row where I would get up, get my son to school, and get back in the bed and just like watch Daria for hours, knowing I have some deadline I need to meet at work. I have something coming up I need to do, but I just couldn't bring myself to get my clothes on and get to the office.
So, Abby, how did you work your way out of this place? Because you said you had to come up with an exit strategy, which a lot of people, I think a lot of Black women, especially now, are trying to figure out. We feel like we're stuck in these jobs. A lot of Black women have been laid off in this country. They don't know their next move. You worked for law firms. I heard you telling a story about how you just couldn't take it. I know that maybe this isn't when you decided to become an entrepreneur, but at some point you did. So what was your exit strategy to get out of this place that had you depressed, down, hiding from these people? What did you do?
So I did things to try and appease myself before I left. Like I started sitting on citizen review panels. I started doing volunteer stuff because remember, like I've earned enough stat at this point that I could just take time off and they won't say anything to me.
Right.
So I was doing all these volunteer things thinking this will satisfy my soul. But, with that woman in that deposition, I said, there's no amount of volunteer work I can do to recover for the harm that I'm doing on this other end. So I said, I want to work in immigration. It's where I wanted to work anyway. So let me start applying for jobs to get out of here. So I found a firm that said I would be able to work in their immigration department. But first, just come in and help with some of our insurance stuff, and then we can figure out how to get you over into immigration. A year into that job, I still had not touched immigration. And so I said, I need a full, change. I need a full, 180. What can I do? I went to this conference that was called um, Women Women something in Law and Business. I don't remember the name of it, but it was in downtown Atlanta, and I got the company to pay for me to go.
Mm-hmm.
There was no CLEs attached to it. I was just like, I want to go to this. I was just doing all kind of stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
just
Yeah, yeah.
so they had a panel that was called Alternatives to Law, and everyone sitting on that panel was someone who had gotten a law degree, but they did not work in a law firm anymore. One of them
Mhm.
was a lady who had gone to Europe for several years and gotten expertise in working in human resources, and then came back. And at the exact same time I attended this conference, my son had been learning Spanish with the ESL teacher at school. And the ESL teacher said to me, we have come as far as we can go. If you want any further, any more deep learning, then you need to transfer to an immersion school or have some kind of immersion experience. And so I got this idea sitting in the conference, I can leave the country too. I can
Wow.
leave the country and figure out how to reset while I'm out. And maybe someone will take me more seriously if I have that cultural experience and if I can pick up a language. So I
So are you
asked my
fluent?
son in Spanish.
I love you for that. Listen, my minor's in Spanish. I spent a summer in Spain and when college asked me, can I speak Spanish?
Oh,
I've been at it for years, but go ahead. Go ahead.
so I had a globe on the desk outside my son's room,
Hmm.
and so I'm sitting there like looking at jobs online in different countries and just trying to figure some things out. And I asked my son, if we moved out of the country, where would you want to go? He did not break his stride. He just said Mexico and kept walking.
Right.
And so
I
I was like, okay, Mexico. And if you asked him why, he would say, because my friend Esmeralda's from Mexico, and she always says that she likes Mexico. So I
So did you
applied.
work there? Did you or you just took off?
So I started applying for jobs.
Uh-huh.
And I did an interview. I did one interview in Colombia, one in Peru, and one in Mexico. And I really wanted the job in Peru because it was like on the shore and
Yeah.
waking up
Yeah.
by the beach would be so cool.
Oh yeah.
And it was a boarding school, so my son would be able to like be in the boarding school too.
Yeah.
But the job in Mexico was clearly the one for me because when I got on, back then it was Skype.
Yeah.
When I got on Skype with Salvador, who would become my boss, we just got along like gangbusters. Just,
Wow.
they're allowed to ask questions that you're typically not allowed to ask when you're
Hmm.
applying for jobs in the US. But because of him being allowed to ask me those questions, like, are you married? Do you have any kids? We were able to have deeper conversations about what I was looking for and why I was trying to come and what would be difficult or easy for me. And he told me flat out, like, yes, you can bring your son here and get him in school, but I'm going to tell you, I'm Mexican, but I moved back here from Chicago. It was hard for me to get my kids in public school. So
Oh.
it's going to be difficult for you, but we'll help you however we can. We also talked about dating. He said where we are, he was over two locations and I had selected the one location. And he was like, well, for that location, if you want to date while you're there, you're going to run into people who fetishize you. And so you need
Mm.
to be careful of that. And if you want me to meet anybody that you're interested in and you think you're serious about, I can do that.
Oh, what's his name again?
Salvador.
Salvador. All right, Salvador. I just love this story because I feel like it takes a lot of courage to like get up and move out of the country, even if it was just temporary. But in order for you to make happen in your life what you needed to have happen, and I remember like reading when before we talked and what good came from all of this, some good obviously came from it, I think. You know what I'm saying? Because, you can always connect those dots later. You can't connect them at the time. You don't know why certain things are happening to you. But it just took a tremendous amount of courage to just, as a Black woman too, to just up and go to Mexico.
I couldn't see any other way at that
Mm-hmm.
moment. I couldn't see any other way. I was standing at my washer one day and I'm going to cry just thinking about it. I
Mm-hmm.
just broke down in tears. I couldn't even stand up straight at the washing machine. I said, I can't continue like this. I
Mm-hmm.
am dying on the inside.
Right.
I can't do this.
It's amazing. I mean, that's so inspiring. That's so inspiring. And so you go to Mexico.
I
You
leave.
you
Mhm.
leave and you're there for how long?
We stayed for a year.
Mm-hmm.
That was as long as my ex-husband would agree to,
Mm-hmm.
because we did have joint custody.
Right, right.
And I, at the time, I knew that I was like propelling forward, but I also felt like such a huge failure that I couldn't stick it out and make it happen.
Oh, girl.
And I couldn't explain well to my parents what I was doing, and they didn't really understand because, again, I couldn't really explain to them how I was suffering. We're talking about people who did sit ins at Woolworths and got spit on and yelled at. And my mom, the first company that came into her hometown that she tried to get a job with told her no, even though she graduated at the top of her class. No, you little black, you four-eyed black girl.
Mm,
No. How do I explain to these people that I can't cut the mustard?
right. I just can't take it because they went through so much worse. They're just like, you have a job. You're getting retirement. You
Yeah.
have benefits.
And
Why would you leave that?
what they're seeing from the outside is you leave work whenever you feel like it, you take vacations, you have enough money to do what you want to do. So like from the outside, no one would know how I was feeling, how I was really doing. And then because we don't really look at weight loss as a sign of stress, I am 5'10", 5'9". I've been lying about my height for so long.
Me too. Me too.
There is no reason I should ever be 130 pounds. So people looking at my weight loss, I mean, like even at one point I was having my food delivered to me
Mm-hmm,
so
mm-hmm.
I could keep in that 900
Calorie.
calories.
Mm-hmm.
And I would let my nephew eat like half of my plate before I ate it. And nobody was like, wait a minute, you're already eating so little.
Right.
Why are you letting him eat half of your food? No, nobody was noting the concern in my physical deterioration.
And this is what has to happen in order for us to elevate as a people, though. You know what I'm saying? You have to almost be in these situations and to this point, because a lot of people, and I can just tell by listening to the comments, by hearing what people say about me or to me or whatever, that they expect us to stay stuck in these situations and just like struggle through it, kill ourselves literally, and enough is enough. I struggle with chest pains, I struggle with anxiety. You say you struggle with depression, and I can tell you from being away from toxic people, clients who paid me quite well. Of course I miss the money, but I don't miss it. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Because I
Hmm.
just feel so much better. But we have to, I feel like this is what we have to do, maybe our generation, is to get ourselves to the point where we elevate up out of a situation.